Have you ever stopped to think about the future, not as something that just happens to us, but as something we can actually build? That's what we're diving into today. This powerful idea that we can, and maybe even must, take the wheel and consciously shape where we're headed.
You ever get that feeling? Like the world is spinning faster and faster, and you're just trying to hang on for dear life? It's like we're all being pulled along by technology and culture, but where are we even going? If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. The source material for this explainer says this is a huge part of the modern experience, this strange unease, right in the middle of an age that's supposed to be full of amazing possibilities.
And that feeling, it really puts us at a massive crossroads. We have two paths. Path one, we just keep letting the future wash over us, a future built on pure chance. Or, path two, we decide to grab the pen and actually write our own future, on purpose, a future by choice. And that right there, that's the big conflict we've got to tackle.
All right, so let's really dig into this. What does it actually mean to choose our future? And maybe more importantly, why is making that choice so critical, like right now, more than ever before?
When you boil it all down, what is it that we really want? Well, the source suggests it's pretty simple, very human stuff. We're all craving a little more ease and a lot less of that constant overwhelm. We want to find some real meaning, not just get lost in endless digital distractions. And we want things to make sense, to feel coherent instead of scattered all over the place. The bottom line is, we just want to build a future where people can actually, flourish.
Okay, so if what we want is that simple, why on earth does it feel so hard to get? Well, the problem, it turns out, is this deep, fundamental mismatch right at the very core of how we live today. To get a handle on this strain, the source gives us a really useful concept, the biological footprint. Think of it like a backpack that gets heavier and heavier with every news alert, every social media notification, all of that information overload. It's this cumulative, invisible weight that's just taxing our built-in natural ability to adapt and recover.
And this is where you can really see the problem in black and white. On one hand, you have our biology, our human hardware, if you will. It was designed over thousands and thousands of years for a much slower, more predictable world. But on the other hand, you've got our culture, which has just hit the accelerator and is moving at light speed. It's an environment of constant, relentless change. And our old-school biology, it just wasn't built to keep up with that.
But here's the thing, and this is so important. This mismatch isn't a dead end. It's actually an evolutionary trigger. It's a wake-up call. It's basically compelling us to take the next step in our development, not by waiting around for slow biological change, but by evolving consciously, intentionally. We're being called to adapt on purpose.
So, if evolving on purpose is the new mission, what's the target? What are we actually aiming for? Let's break down what the goal looks like and then the process for how we might get there. The goal has a name, eustasis. Now, this isn't some perfect, static state where nothing ever changes. No way. It's a dynamic balance. The best analogy is surfing. You're not trying to stop the waves of change, you're learning how to ride them. It's that feeling of being in sync with our world, where our environment is actually supporting our health and well-being instead of draining it.
Okay, so if eustasis is the what, the destination, then the process for getting there is called evolopsis. This is the how. This is the active, hands-on work of aligning our actions, our environment, and our vision for the future. You could say evolopsis is the practical shift from just reacting to our world to consciously creating it.
I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great, but maybe a little abstract. How do we actually do any of this? So let's bring it down to earth and get practical. Let's look at a personal approach for putting this into action.
It all starts with a simple number, 100. Thinking 100 years ahead turns out to be a really powerful tool. Why? Because it's far enough in the future that it frees your imagination from all of today's limitations. But it's also close enough to feel connected to inspire real action right now.
And this brings us to the central exercise. We need to ask ourselves this question. What would an ideal day be like in 100 years? And this isn't about predicting flying cars or fancy gadgets. It's about the human experience. What would the air feel like? What would our conversations be about? How would we connect with each other, with nature? Answering this question helps us build a blueprint for what truly matters. Once you have that 100-year vision, you can start working backward to today. The source calls this process futurizing yourself, and it breaks down into 3 pretty simple steps. First, just identify what feels off or out of balance in your life right now. Second, get really clear on what you'd want instead. that feeling of eustasis. And third, use that clarity to create a direction that helps guide your daily choices, moving you just a little bit closer to that vision.
And all of this brings us right back to the most critical point of all, the power of this very moment. Because the future isn't some distant destination just waiting for us down the road.
The future is being built right now, today. Every single choice we make, from our personal habits to our company policies, is like casting a vote for a particular kind of future. Our actions today are literally setting the course, the trajectory for the next 100 years.
As the author of the source material, Tom Myers, puts it so well, we can't let the future simply happen to us. I mean, that really sums up this entire idea, doesn't it? Passivity is no longer an option. That old mindset of whatever will be, is a recipe for a future shaped by chance and, you guessed it, a lot more overwhelm.
So as we wrap up, this final question is for you, for all of us, really. The story of the next century is being written as we speak, by the choices we're all making. So what's it going to be? A future by chance or a future by choice? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.